Hey guys, and welcome back to a new video. Today I want to bring you a few comparisons between original Metal Solid 3 based on the Master Collection version and Metal Solid Delta Snake Eater, stuff that only really speedrunners would notice. So let's take a look. First thing I definitely noticed is that movement from Snake is much more natural. It does feel like he's slower and more weighty, but actually looking here side by side, we can see his movement actually is just as quick going left and right as in the original with the Master Collection on top. However, one big thing actually changes here. In the old games, we can actually here in the Snake Eater camera run around and actually look the direction that we also move Snake towards. However, in the legacy controls of Delta, as we can see here, if I hold my gun out and would normally try to walk to a certain spot and be ready to shoot, here in legacy controls, Snake is constantly locked into the same angle. This changes, for example, rooms like here in Rustfed, where in the old version of the game, I can quite easily run a gun like this, walk around, and yes, this is extreme difficulty, not be detected at all. In Metal Solid Delta, this plays out quite differently, at least in my experience so far. We can still go here in FPV, stand our tippy toes, and then shoot this guy immediately in the head, since legacy controls for the Mark 22 don't have bullet drop here. But, as we can see here, with crouch walk already, our momentum changes. And it's actually much safer here to give headshots immediately like this and not run a gun down everyone. Still, for the most part, while this is just a slight adjustment for speedrunners here on the highest difficulty, we're gonna still see that, yeah, it's just taken some time to get used to new controls. Legacy is not legacy at all, but we can surely adjust still. At least all the basics are here, and we can do rest of it, as we can see here, still being undetected and relatively fast. If you have the deluxe edition, you can also get here the gold camo for Snake, which even in its description says that your movement speed will increase. And we can see this here side by side, how the gold camo is already a little bit further ahead, going in Rustfed all the way from right all the way to the left. If we put this on top of each other, we can actually see here and crunch the numbers, and we get a rough estimate of 13% speed increase. Ironically, even the old version of the game is roughly 2% faster in movement speed versus Delta. On ladders though, the movement does not change at all. Here's yet another point where I really love Delta here. When we go into this van after the Ocelot fight, we don't need to readjust the stick and put it back up again. Because in the old game version, we always had to reset our stick. Here's yet another restack that's actually technically gone from Delta. We could...
What are you trying to do?
Back in the day, we were able to use the 𝐾𝐚𝐮 code here, up, up, down, down, left, right, X, and Y, to reveal the location of the end.
Fight like a man.
And while this input is still possible here, the end actually acknowledges that you press the buttons, but he will not reveal himself anymore on the map.
You'll never beat me like that.
It's a little bit of a shame, because it was quite a helpful tool, but... well, in regards to that, they still at least acknowledge the Easter egg. Speaking of ladders as well here, after the end when we go up the long ladder, we already immediately were able to tell on stream that something's off. The song normally ends and then we go to the end of the ladder, but here in Delta we found out actually the ladder's shorter by around 9 seconds. One new thing that absolutely about Delta, which has had been missing from the HD remake and of course then the Master Collection version, is the 𝐾𝐻𝐸𝐵 minigame. If you're caught here in the cell and make a save, you can see that your save actually turns red. If you then quit out and load that save again or continue immediately from that save, we get into the 𝐾𝐻𝐸𝐵 minigame, which has been remade here entirely by Platinum with new cutscenes and a new gameplay feel. It plays absolutely great, and after you finish a run, you can also immediately select it without needing a save anymore from the main menu. It doesn't make sense that I can't save, but still. See, this is what I meant. I just looked at it briefly, but apparently we have a red save here for some reason, and I guess this red save means like, ooh, special nightmare save now. I don't know. But another thing is interesting with saves. At the Sorrow, the entire Sorrow segment once again is removed from the IGT. I made a save during the Sockmo segment and after the Sorrow segment, and actually had a 2-minute time difference, meaning the entire IGT that we spent there at the Sorrow, once we die and then revive ourselves, actually that IGT gets set back to the point before the Sorrow segment actually starts. You can see right here, by the waterfall, 2 hours 43, and inside the Sorrow segment, it was 2 hours and 45. Nice that they kept this addition. Something that's missing though is this scene here on the bridge. Normally we can just hip shot with the sniper, but in Delta, we're not able to do that anymore. In Delta, we have to scope into the sniper and then shoot that last C3. You can't shoot. Game's broken, guys. Cancel your pre-orders. You can't just shoot. You have to actually scope and shoot. And then finally, at the end of the game, it's finally time. As a streamer, the Star Sailor song always gets DMCA claimed, but thankfully in Delta now, we have the option to skip cutscenes, and that includes also the credits. So here's my actual reaction when I notice I can finally skip the credits and I don't need to wait 12 minutes for the song, the extra credits, of course, as well, and the Ostad speech to go through. Speed ones will be like 12 minutes faster now. All right, so I think this is the timer. Yep, there you go. Gotta meet the credits. I'm sorry, guys. This is Star Sailors. I'm back. Oh my god! Oh my god! Credit skip is real! The credit skips is real! Oh! Busting a nut here. Last but not least, there's also a great thing here. If you just finish a run and made your save at the end of the game, you can immediately select New Game Plus without needing a save file anymore. You can pick your playstyle and the difficulty between very easy up to extreme. European Extreme is only unlocked when you beat the game on Extreme, but I assume once you load an Extreme save file on completion, you can also then freely select every difficulty, including European Extreme. Once you started a run and made a save during that run, you will not see this New Game Plus option anymore, but if you just then go to load game and then select your New Game Plus save file, then you get the same dialogue again. It's perfect because in the old games, you were locked basically from a New Game run into the difficulty for all New Game Plus runs. Now in Delta, when you finish a game, for example, on very easy, you can keep all the unlocks, your new weapons that you have for the New Game Plus file, but then play them even on other difficulties, like I said, from easy, normal, hard, and even extreme onwards.